Welcome back. Now in this lecture you're gonna learn how to analyze your traffic. One of the most basic things you want to know about your website is how many visitors that you're regularly getting. Now this is the only way to find out if you're actually growing your website and reach or not. Otherwise you're just guessing. So we're going to start off at home here, and then to the left, remember we've gone through what these reports are, and because we're looking at how much traffic are we getting, we're going to move down to acquisition, because acquisition means how we got our traffic. So we're going to click on acquisition, and then we're going to click on overview, and remember to be on the demo account so that you can follow along with me. I'm going to click on overview. So it's gonna bring us to this part, and we're going to get a bunch of information. Now the first thing you want to look at is to make sure that you've got the date range correctly. If you didn't set up the defaults in the navigation lecture, this is going to be set on 7 days, and 7 days, that's not very, it's accurate information, but not great information to analyze. So make sure if you didn't set that you are at the last 30 days and then hit apply. So if you want to find out how much traffic you have gotten to your website the past month, just go down and look at where it says users, and then you have the total sum here. And this Google Merchandise Store has gotten 58,151 people visiting their store, which is amazing. That's a lot of traffic. So you're gonna go through the very same thing with your own website once you start generating traffic, or right now if you actually are generating traffic but you don't know how much. So let's go through a couple of things that we can read from this data. The first thing you're gonna notice is that we have a couple of different ways that we're getting this traffic from. We have direct, we have paid search, we have display, affiliates, and we have other. Scrolling down, we're also getting some deeper statistics on how much we're getting and what all of this means. So let's break it down from the very beginning, starting with direct traffic. Now, direct traffic is any traffic that lands on your website, such as from search engines, that isn't paid for. So this direct traffic is all organic traffic. Sometimes this will be called organic traffic, but that's only when Google knows that it's organic. But when Google is unsure, because there's no tracking attached or someone clicked through a software or a PDF, it will be listed as direct. Okay, so organic means that they've entered your website on their own. They click somewhere. It's not paid for. It's free traffic. Okay, but direct means that they could have typed in your website in the browser directly. It could come from a search engine. It could come from clicking on the URL in a PDF. It could be anywhere. When Google isn't 100% sure, they put it as direct. And remember, this is just for the last month. If you look at your own traffic, chances are that you might have additional ones from just these. If I go up and I change the date range here, now it's 2021, let's put it to 2017, and then I hit apply, and then we go down. You can see that organic search is really big. Now it might be the reason that organic search isn't as big today, because there's a lot of changes in how you're allowed to track people. Maybe Google changed their own tracking for this demo store. There can be a multitude of different reasons why it's just showing direct and not organic traffic today, why it's been clumped together. So we're going to go back and go back to 30 days. So just be aware that direct traffic doesn't just mean that they put your URL in here and directly entered your website. It can mean that, but it doesn't have to mean that. It can also be from a search engine or anywhere where you're getting traffic that isn't paid for. Paid search, that's different. That is paid for traffic. Now, paid traffic is any traffic that you have gotten from a search engine that you have paid for, using, for example, Google search ads or Bing ads, okay? So from any form of search engine, that's where the paid search traffic is coming from. Then we have display traffic. Now, display traffic is traffic that you've gotten from running display ads. If you don't know what display ads are, don't worry about it. But it's this type of ads that you see on blog websites, for example, where they have a small piece of randomly generated ad. It might be in the upper right corner, lower right corner, etc. If you don't know what it is, you're probably not gonna have it on your own analytics, so don't worry about it. And then affiliate traffic is traffic from affiliate websites. Okay, so if you have any form of affiliate partnership and you are they are driving traffic for you towards your website, that is going to show up here. And then we have other, and other simply means that Google has no idea what that could possibly be, so they're just gonna clump it together. So now you know the different ways that you're getting traffic from. We're going to dive even deeper into this in an upcoming lecture. In an upcoming lecture, we're also going to dive deeper into how your performance has been this month compared to a previous month or a previous year so you can see your own growth. But we're going to start with one step at a time. So looking at all of this data, we're getting some additional information. First of all, we have users, and users is exactly the way it sounds. How many people have actually entered your website? Here's the total. Here's the one from direct traffic. Here's the ones from paid, from display, from affiliates. New users means, just like it sounds, people who are completely new who've entered your website, okay? So that's removing all of the returning visitors. And then we have sessions. And remember, Google Analytics 3 tracks through sessions. So what is a session? Well, a session is every time someone enters your website and then they check out your website. For example, if they enter 4 different pages on your website, that is still a single session. But then if they exit your website and come back to your website, then that's gonna be a new session, okay? So Google Merchandise Store has gotten 75,862 sessions. That's a lot of sessions. Then we have bounce rate. Bounce rate meaning how many people, how many percentage have bounced. Now bounce is just the way it sounds. If someone enters your website and then directly leaves your website without checking it out, without clicking anywhere, that's known as a bounce. You want to have as low of a bounce rate as possible, because just like dropping something that bounces on the floor, it bounces right back. You don't want it to bounce back. You want people to stick to your website, not bounce from your website, okay? So the lower the bounce rate, the better for your website. And as we can see, people who come through direct have a much lower bounce rate than paid search. And this is very common. It's not true every time, but it's very common. So that is generally why they say that organic traffic, meaning traffic that isn't paid for, direct traffic, is more valuable than paid traffic, because paid traffic tend to not be quite as sold on what you have, or not quite as interested as people who have come to your website by their own free will. And we can see that on the bounce rate. Then we have pages per session. So remember, one session is whenever someone goes into your website and then they might click on multiple pages. So here we're looking at, well, how many pages are people checking out per session? Well, the average is close to 5. And as you can see, the paid search actually has more pages per session, and the display even more, and that is very interesting in my opinion. But that also means that if you're running, for example, a content website where you are relying on ad revenue, you want to have as many pages per session as possible, because then you're showing more ads and you're generating more revenue. And then we have the average session duration, and you want this to be as high as possible, because that means that people are enjoying and reading your stuff. E-commerce conversion rate, well, that is just like it sounds. How many percentage are actually buying something or taking an action that you want them to take? And in this case, the conversion rate is going to be a purchase, and we can see 2.57% actually do. Much higher percentage in the direct traffic than in the paid search traffic. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. How many transactions, meaning how many people have actually bought, and then the revenue generated, and that's quite a bit of revenue. So all of this very important data that we can read from the stats that we have gotten about our traffic. So the basic question was, how much traffic have we gotten to our website? We have that here. Where do they come from, and what does it mean? We get all of that data here. If we want to have more in-depth traffic, for example, okay, we have gotten 58,000 people to our website, but where did they actually land when they come to our website? We can go down and click on direct. Now here we can see where they first land on our website, and this is some very valuable data. The majority of people are going to land on the home page, and that makes sense. That's usually where people land. 53.3% lands on the home page. Now we can see that some also land on the redesign/shop/buy brand YouTube, which is going to be some of their merchandise. And some are going to land on men's apparel, some are going to just land on apparel, some are going to land in the sign in. So when it comes to the landing page, or where they land up from as a direct traffic, that means where they first visit your website. We can see from the pages per session from home, for example, that they don't stay there. Most people visit on average 4 more pages. But once again, we can see how many new users are landing on home. Well, that's gonna be 60%, okay? How many sessions is it getting? What's the bounce rate? So we can, for example, see that people who land on home have a 50% bounce rate, while people who land on men's apparel have a 28% bounce rate, much lower. And people in the sign-in have the lowest. And that makes sense, because if you're looking to sign in to Google, you're probably not going to bounce. And if you wanna see how it looks like, you can click on this button, and it's gonna take you to that very page. So this is their sign-in page. of course. And then you have the same data that we just went through. And something we're gonna take a closer look at as we go is going to be the revenue. Which page, or rather which page that they're landing on first, is generating the most revenue for us. So we can, for example, see that more people land on this page that says Shop by Brand YouTube, okay? More people than people who land on men's apparel or apparel men. But look at the revenue generated. Now this is generating, it looks like 10 times more revenue than this one. Okay, if you compare these two, even though this one is getting slightly more traffic. So that's pretty huge. We're gonna dive deeper into looking at the different qualities of traffic, how to find it and what to do with that information. But for now, let's head back and also go ahead and click on paid search. Now, if you're running any form of ads, you want to know, well, what are the keywords that are making me the most money, that is giving me the lowest bounce rate, which is giving me the most sessions and the most pages per session. And as we can see, the winner is the Google Merchandise Store. That's the keyword that they're using. It's not generating a lot of money because their paid ads aren't doing too well compared to their organic, which makes sense. I mean, we're talking about Google here, but it's still very valuable if you're running ads. So now what we want to do is that we want to move down to all traffic and then click on channels. Now we're getting the same data but in a different look here. But what we're always looking for when we're analyzing reports are patterns. So if we want to walk away from here with something actionable about our traffic, then we need to look for patterns. And we've found a couple of patterns, right? We know that direct traffic works better than paid search when it comes to revenue, when it comes to the total. We know that it's performing better, has a much lower bounce rate and all of that, but that's not surprising. But if we're creating content, for example, one of the things we can look at is going to be this user statistic. So if we look here in the Explorer and Summary, we can see if we have a day basis, and of course we're looking from a month perspective, we can see when we are getting the most users. So if we look here, we can see that Friday, things are going down. Saturday, things are going down. Sunday, we're, in the valley. And then we're getting more users on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then it's going down on Friday. And this is a pattern. If you look across this entire month, you can see that every single Friday, the user amount is going down. And Saturday and Sunday is always the lowest amount of users on your website. It's true here, and it's true here as well. So what does this mean? Well, this means that if you want some actionable data, I would analyze this report as if I'm going to produce content on my website, I would release that in the middle of the week, on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, or on a Thursday. A Monday seems to be especially good, but any of the weekdays seems to work because that's when we're having the most users, so that's when we're going to have our content the most read. Similarly, if we're releasing a product, release it in the one of the weekdays because we're having the lowest amount of users in the weekends. That's not a good place at all to be releasing any form of content or any form of new product. So this is very actionable data, and we find it in acquisition, all traffic, channels, making sure our date range is from the last 30 days and looking at days. Now, if we look at a week here in the last 30 days, we're just going to have pretty much a straight line. This isn't going to give us anything. But of course, if we're going to look at this from a deeper perspective, we can go and we can set up several years in here. We can look month to month. That's going to give us some actionable results. But for now, I just strongly recommend look at the last 30 days, look from a day perspective, and then go through this chart and see when am I having the most users and when am I having the least amount of users. That's going to reveal to you when you should publish your new content and when you should publish your new products to get the best possible results for whenever you release something new. Perfect. So now you know a bit more about your traffic. In the next lecture, we're going to talk about locations and figure out where is your traffic coming from and what is the highest quality country for you and how do you adapt your marketing plan towards that. See you in the next lecture.